after a week of speculation, we finally get some clarity behind why William Nylander hasn't played in round one of the playoffs this far. We'll break down his injury and everything surrounding William Nylander coming up on this episode of Hattrick HQ. But before we get into it, we just want to say that 81.9% of you guys watching these videos aren't subscribed to the channel. So if you're looking for a place for NHL content here on YouTube, you found the right place here at Hattrick HQ. So make sure you're down below and hit that subscribe button. But with that said, let's go right into the first topic, or the main topic of the video, which is this Nylander update is scary. And yes, we did get a report from Sportsnet's Elliotte Friedman, where he said, according to multiple sources, William Nylander's absence from the Toronto lineup has been due with a migraine so severe that the team's doctors tested to see if he suffered a concussion. One of the reasons for the secrecy around his situation is that an actual diagnosis has been hard to come by. Whether it's a migraine, a concussion, or something else that could affect that area. They also go on to say in this article that, the secrecy led to wild speculation, even by Toronto media standards. And they say, as to why Nylander missed the first 3 games of the Boston series, it's believed Nylander first indicated an issue Thursday, the day after the Maple Leafs ended their season against the Tampa Bay Lightning. They also say here in 2022, Nylander told reporters he switched to a tinted visor because of migraines he suffered the previous season. And finally, they go on to say here, there is hope that he will play in game 4. A little bit more unclear of a situation is Bobby McMann, who has been out with an injury as well, who suffered a low body injury, I think. And now they say here his timeline was expected to be longer than Nylander's, although he hasn't been ruled out for the series. So Bobby McMann could make a comeback. The timeline on Nylander hasn't been clarified right now. They haven't even had a diagnosis, but if we just take a look at Nylander this season, obviously, he was one of the bright spots of the Toronto Maple Leafs this regular season, having 98 points in 82 games with multiple 10-plus game point streaks amongst them. And the big thing here, Mark, about William Nylander is how good of a playoff player he's been for the Toronto Maple Leafs during his time here. Last year, he had 10 points. I think it was almost a point per game last year in the playoffs for this Toronto Maple Leafs team. And you can kind of see the impact that not having him in the lineup is taking on this team.
Yeah, the biggest thing with Nylander is just the media and just the team itself figuring out exactly, and not so much the media figuring this out, but the team figuring out what the next steps to help Nylander get back into the game. The big thing is the Leafs are off for 2 days in Toronto, so there is no travel. They're off today, they're off Friday, and then they play again on Saturday. The absence of Nylander in this lineup is quite big for the team. I mean, we look at Nylander, he's a 40-goal scorer. He has been one of their top playoff performers in the recent years. Obviously, this injury is not something that they can joke around with or just throw him back in the lineup. This is a serious thing, especially with him going into his contract extension. So the big thing is getting Nylander healthy, getting him back into this lineup. The Leafs really do need him, but they can't rush him. I mean, you look at Nylander, like I said, he's a 40-goal scorer. He's been one of the top playoff performers. He has played so many games. I think it was this year and last year. He played 82 regular season games. The year before that, he played 81. So the timing of this injury is quite bad for Nylander and the Leafs themselves in the middle of a series against one of their biggest rivals in the Boston Bruins. Going down 2-1 in the series, you look at Samsonov, he has been good for this team. We're seeing people step up. We're seeing Max Domi look at Sandin Bertuzzi. We've seen Tavares step his game up. But not having Nylander in is just a big miss on this Leafs team. And I think he will be a deciding factor on if the Leafs ultimately do win the series against the Bruins or not.
Yeah, definitely. And obviously, like you said, you don't want to rush him back during this injury. We've seen over the years a lot of players play through injuries, but a concussion or a migraine, with the head is a hard, injury to play through, because you could get hit and you could be out for a long time. You could potentially never play hockey again. You don't want to mess around with a head injury. So it's great to hear that, Toronto is taking, the precautions here and keeping him out until they find a diagnosis. And I know everybody's hoping that Nylander will be back by the end of this series, but by looking at it right now, it looks like, this is a pretty serious injury that you don't want to mess around with.
Yeah, that's the big thing. You don't want to rush him back in and him to have another injury or just to aggravate what he's dealing with. I mean, just recently we've seen Nolan Patrick. He was a high overall pick. He was a Philadelphia player, and he could never get his footing in the NHL because of migraine problems, concussions, whatever it might be. So these head injuries are something that's very hard to kind of look at, deal with, say when he's cleared to play. And we did see Nylander skating a lot. He was at optional skates during practices. He skates before the game. But the big problem is you can't rush him into this as much as Leafs fans might want. You also look at a guy like Bobby McMann, who is also missing from the series. You were saying he might not be back for the entirety of the first round. So this is a depth piece in Bobby McMann, a high in talent in Nylander. Like I said, 40 goals is hard to come by, and depth scoring like Bobby McMann has provided is also hard to come by. The Leafs are fighting through some adversity with these injuries, but if they can fight this out, if Nylander's not back for the first round, things are going to get harder for the Leafs. And if he can get back by the end of this first round or into the second, if they do make it, I think things will be a lot of a clearer path for the Leafs.
Yeah, I definitely have to agree with you. And like you said, losing Bobby McMahon is a big one too. I mean, this is a guy who I talked about before the series that could have been an X factor for this team, a guy who could really break out during this series. And then unfortunately, he went down with injury. And I hope that he can come back by the end of this series and try to make his impact within the playoffs for the Toronto Maple Leafs, because I really like how Bobby McMahon has played in Toronto this season. But like you said about Nylander, I mean, this is a big hit for the team, but with how physical this series has been, you don't want to risk Nylander going out there and just getting tossed by a Pat Maroon or even a Marchand, because then that leads to a serious injury that could maybe lead to Nylander never playing hockey again. It is great to see that he is out skating with the team and doing stuff like this, but when it comes to head injuries and concussions, you never want to put a player in that position to be smoked, with a hit, or it's so easy these days to get an accidental bump to the head. So you don't want to see that to Nylander in this series. So I think if he doesn't get cleared, if they don't find a diagnosis for this, I don't think we'll see him back in round one. But who knows? The injury could be less serious than what we're making it out to be.
Yeah, that's the big thing. He is a crucial part for this team, especially for a team that's struggling on the power play. Getting Nylander back onto this first power play unit or on the second unit to add more firepower to that is going to be crucial to Toronto. But like you said, if this is actually a concussion that's dealing with migraines as well, you can't rush him in. You need to take this in a cautious route.
Yeah, I definitely have to agree with you. And obviously, our hearts go out to William Nylander, and I really hope that he can get through this injury and have a safe and speedy recovery, because everybody wants to see him back out there on the ice, but we don't want him out there, risking his health. But yeah, best wishes to William Nylander. Hopefully he can get through this injury fairly quickly. But we want to hear your guys' takes on it down below in the comment section. What do you think about the Nylander situation? When do you think he's going to return? Let us know down below in the comment section. But Mark, before we get into everybody's favorite topic, we got to talk about Bob Cole. He's a local legend around here, and unfortunately today he passed away. I mean, he's been a big part of mine and your childhoods. I mean, being the voice of Hockey Night in Canada.
Yeah, that's the big thing with Bob Cole. I had the pleasure of meeting him multiple times when I was younger and into my teens. So losing someone like that in just Newfoundland's history or in Canada's history is a big loss. It is really hard, and I hope his family is dealing with this well. He is a legend, and he will be carried on for quite some time.
Yeah, couldn't have said it better myself. But best of wishes, and our condolences go out to the Cole family. I mean, it's just heartbreaking news to hear this today, especially for us being Newfoundlanders and what he's done for the province of Newfoundland within the hockey world. It just means a lot to us, especially here on the channel. I mean, this guy, made us hockey fans. Really, he was the voice. He was the guy we were listening to do play-by-plays for Toronto versus Montreal for our entire childhood. So, our condolences go out to the Bob Cole family. He'll be greatly missed by us and the people Newfoundland and the hockey, world in general. But we're going to get into the comment of the day here today, which is, we're going to take a look here. It is from Westicle. He says, Kopi is better. And obviously last night, Mark, we seen the LA Knights beat Edmonton in overtime. And who was the hero? That was Anze Kopitar. Series is now tied 1-1. This is going to be a banger of a series, Mark.
Yeah, and honestly, I know Oilers fans are going to hate me even more for this. Kopitar is more of a complete player than McDavid, so I agree with this comment.
That's a pretty hot take, but we'll take it. We'll take it. But we want to hear your guys' takes on everything we talked about here today. Even just let us know where you're watching from. You might be featured on the next comment of the day. If you enjoyed this video, make sure down below, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. We're on the road for 3,500 subscribers here on the channel. So if you enjoy the NHL and you're looking for a place to find daily updates on what's happening, you found the right place here at Hat Trick HQ. So go down below and hit that subscribe button. And if you want to check out a video we did yesterday, it'll be popping up on your screen right now. But as always, I've been your host, Casey, alongside my co-host, Mark Pye. Keep your stick on the ice.